Have you ever wondered what an intentional life actually looks like under a microscope? Well, welcome to this explainer, where we're going to dive right into the anatomy of exactly that. Today, we're using a super fascinating piece of source material, Eng's 2026 Week 25 review, as our blueprint. We're going to totally deconstruct this highly detailed personal journal to see how tracking daily metrics can literally pave the way for profound personal growth. So let me ask you a core question to get us in the right mindset. How do you measure a well-lived week? Are you just kind of guessing, or do you actually know for sure? Eng's review shows us how tracking quantitative data, things like sleep hours, step counts, and dietary ratios, is the ultimate key to unlocking qualitative life improvements. It's really about taking the mundane details of our everyday routines and turning them into a practical roadmap for a better life. Here is our roadmap for today. First, the weekly review framework. Second, the Health and Wellness Foundation. Third, fueling projects and hobbies. And finally, moving forward with intention. Let's start with Section 1, the Weekly Review Framework, turning daily data into actionable growth. This really hits the nail on the head regarding the author's central thesis. Eng points out that a proactive focus on health and wellness is absolutely essential because it builds long-term resilience and boosts your daily energy and clarity. This one powerful idea anchors our entire explainer. Wellness isn't just some optional side quest. It is the crucial launchpad for literally everything else you want to achieve, whether that's personal or professional. Moving right along to Section 2, the Health and Wellness Foundation, Sleep, Steps, and Sustenance. Now, what's incredibly fascinating here is how tiny micro-adjustments in our basic health metrics can create this massive ripple effect throughout the whole week. Take sleep, for instance. Eng achieved a really solid daily average of 6.9 hours. But, what happens when things inevitably go wrong? Eng noted one night of fragmented sleep. But instead of letting that ruin the entire week, they found that taking the right supplement the very next day helped reset their circadian rhythm right back to normal. Talk about a quick recovery. In contrast that supplement fix with this purely environmental tweak. Eng discovered that simply swapping out a traditional ceiling fan for a standing fan was a huge game changer for room airflow. During rainy days with the air conditioning running, this standing fan created the absolute perfect chilling temperature to induce better sleep. It's these tiny, highly observable tweaks that completely change the game. When it comes to moving around, we're looking at a very precise daily average of 4,888 steps. And the best part? This wasn't achieved by miserable, forced workouts, not at all. Instead, Eng just tweaked daily routines to organically encourage movement, doing grocery runs, handling chores, taking field trips to local fish stores. It's all about naturally building movement into the life you already live. So the big takeaway here is recognizing your physical limits through data, right? The sweet spot for Eng is an optimal maintenance zone of 5,000 to 6,000 steps. Why? Because the tracking clearly revealed that pushing past 9,000 steps triggered relapse knee pain and muscle spasms, even with routine massaging. This highlights a highly practical lesson from the source material. If you're traveling and expect to be walking more than usual, ditch the slippers. Wear proper walking shoes to cut down on the risk of injury. Food is tracked just as precisely. The goal here is a 2-1-1 ratio, basically 50% plants, 25% protein, and 25% carbs, maybe shifting a bit toward more plants depending on the day. But the review honestly captures the real-world struggle of actually maintaining this, especially when you're traveling. Local restaurant foods are notoriously loaded with salt and sugar, making it super tough to find healthy options. The adaptive solution? Making informed choices, like just sticking to plain water instead of sugary drinks while on the road. And of course, we can't forget mental health, which is maintained through this beautifully simple, progressive routine. Eng uses short 1 to 3 minute sitting meditations, but it absolutely doesn't stop on the cushion. This is complemented by random walking meditations and mental noting while just doing everyday errands or chores, like raking leaves. It just goes to show that mindfulness can happen literally anywhere. Throughout this journal, there's this recurring moving forward theme. It proves the whole point of reflecting on your week is to actually generate tangible action items. For example, tracking weight, which dropped slightly to a healthy 69.72 kilograms, revealed that eating early dinners between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. significantly reduced water weight the next day. So the goal moving forward is crystal clear: stick to early dinners, resume strength training, and rely heavily on home-cooked meals. All right, Section 3, Fueling Projects and Hobbies, the Purpose Beyond Routine. This definition right here is absolutely vital. It frames projects and hobbies not just as, mere distractions to kill time, but as essential components for a real sense of accomplishment. They are deliberate outlets for growth that add deep purpose and satisfaction to our lives once the daily grind is over. I mean, just look at the sheer variety of intellectual pursuits packed into a single week. Ing is writing daily notes, reading up on things like the three highs, and hopping all over GitHub repositories. We're talking active contributions to Go, Python, Rust, Haskell, and even intending to update CI for Elixir 120 and Erlang in the upstream. That is a massive cognitive load, and it's fueled entirely by that solid health foundation we just talked about. But hey, life happens, right? Things rarely go exactly to plan, and adaptability is totally key here. Eng's planned strategy involved getting outside, decluttering the garden, growing plants from seeds, doing home improvements like painting. But the actual reality? Sudden, repeated evening rains completely washed out those outdoor projects, forcing a major, immediate shift in plans. So, because of the rain, all that energy got masterfully redirected indoors and to covered areas. It turned into a massive week for Eng's fishkeeping hobby. Eng pivoted to taking pending field trips to fish stores, bought dwarf cichlids and sparkling gouramis, swapped out equipment for sponge filters, and even started setting up outdoor ponds on the covered backyard balcony. I absolutely love this little micro-narrative from the journal. While setting up that new balcony pond, a single juvenile polar parrot cichlid was introduced. Eng playfully calls this little fish the pioneer gardener for this brand new aquatic ecosystem. It just shows how meticulously tracking your life doesn't drain the joy or the poetry out of it, and actually helps you pause, document, and really appreciate these small, beautiful moments. Which brings us to section 4, moving forward with intention, adapting for next week. Leaning back into that powerful moving forward mindset, the friction points in unfinished business from week 25 are instantly transformed into actionable goals for week 26. Since the rains delayed the gardening, the obvious next steps are to germinate those purchased seeds and set up the indoor plant rack. And for that new balcony pond, it's time to introduce surface-feeding fish like guppies to join our little pioneer cichlid. This perfectly captures the ultimate takeaway of our explainer today. Just look at the flow from friction to solution. Success is definitely not about perfect execution. It's not about stubbornly forcing yourself to walk 10,000 steps if your knee is screaming, and it's certainly not about trying to paint your house in a down tour. It is all about tracking the friction, understanding exactly what the data is telling you, and gracefully adapting your solutions so you can keep moving forward. So I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought to mull over tonight. Are you just letting your week happen to you? Are you just blindly reacting to the rain and the knee pain? Or are you going to start tracking your own metrics, your sleep, your steps, your hobbies, so you can actively design the balanced, intentional life you actually want to be living? The data's out there, you just have to start writing it down. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope you're inspired to start your very own weekly review.